I, female, 32, let my sister stay at my house while I was on a business trip and came home to complete destruction. Now I'm filing a police report against her. Okay, so I've been a long-time lurker, first-time poster. I never thought I'd be posting here about my own family problems, but here we are. I honestly don't even know where to start with this whole mess. So about 4 months ago, my younger sister Tara, female, 25, got evicted from her apartment. Something about noise complaints and unpaid rent. She was super vague about the details, which should have been my first red flag. She called me crying and basically had nowhere to go. Our parents live about 3 hours away, and she was like, "I can't move back home. I'll die if I have to live with mom and dad again." Dramatic as always. I was really hesitant to let her move in with me. We've never been super close growing up. I was always the responsible one, who got good grades and followed the rules, while Tara was the free spirit, also known as did whatever the hell she wanted and somehow never got in trouble for it. Our parents always took her side in everything and would lecture me about how I needed to be the bigger person because that's just how your sister is. I'm an architect at a mid-sized firm in the city where I've been for about 7 years. I saved for forever to buy this craftsman-style fixer-upper that I've been renovating. I've spent so much money and time on this house, and yeah, I have the space because my boyfriend of 3 years moved out about 8 months ago. Whole other story, but let's just say I have some trust issues now. Anyway, against my better judgment, I let Tara move into my spare bedroom. I set up some basic house rules. No parties, clean up after yourself, respect my stuff in the house, chip in for utilities, not even rent, just utilities. And for the first month, she was mostly okay. She'd make these little comments about me being so controlling and how the house felt like a museum, not a home. But she was keeping her mess contained to her room and not causing major problems. I tried to be understanding because I know she was going through a rough time. I kept remembering my mom saying, "Grace, just be the bigger person. You know how Tara is." So last week I had to go on this really important 3-day business trip to present some designs to this huge potential client in Denver. I was stressed about leaving Tara alone in my house, but she promised she would take care of everything, including my cat, Mr. Whiskers. She was acting super responsible and even said, "Don't worry, I've got this. Trust me." I should never have trusted her. I got home Sunday evening, feeling pretty good because we landed the client. Yay! But I was exhausted from the trip. As soon as I pulled up to my house, I saw beer cans scattered across my front lawn and one of my ceramic planters was smashed by the door. I felt sick immediately. I unlocked the door and, oh my God, I can't even describe the feeling. The living room was trashed, lamps knocked over, my couch was moved to a completely different wall, there were stains everywhere, and this awful smell like stale beer and cigarettes. I don't even smoke. I called out for Tara, but no answer, obviously. I walked through each room and it just got worse and worse. The kitchen had dried food stuck to every surface. Someone had apparently tried to cook something and burned it so bad there were scorch marks on my backsplash. There were like 40 plus empty liquor bottles lined up on my kitchen island. But the dining room, I literally started crying when I saw my dining table. It was my grandmother's old oak table that she left me when she died. It was covered in cigarette burns, alcohol stains, and someone had actually carved their initials into it. I was hysterical at this point. My bathroom had toothpaste smeared on the mirror. Why? And it looked like someone had thrown up in my shower and just left it there. I ran to check my home office, which I specifically told Tara was off limits. My architectural drafting supplies were scattered everywhere. They had apparently been using my expensive technical pens to keep score for drinking games on my walls. At this point, I was in full panic mode and couldn't find Mr. Whiskers anywhere. I was calling and searching for like 20 minutes before I finally found him hiding behind the water heater in the basement. He was so scared, he wouldn't even come to me at first. I just sat on the stairs, holding my terrified cat and sobbing while calling my best friend Curtis. The next morning, my neighbor Charlie came over with his security camera footage. Apparently there had been multiple nights of parties while I was gone. He counted at least 20 to 25 different people coming and going from my house on Friday night alone. The music was so loud he couldn't sleep and had considered calling the cops, but he didn't want to cause trouble. I kind of wish he had now. I got estimates for the damage, and it's over $15,000. $15,000. And that doesn't even include the stuff that can't be replaced, like my grandmother's table. Tara finally showed up Monday afternoon, looking hungover and completely unbothered. Her first words were literally, "Your cat is super antisocial. He hid the whole time." When I showed her the damage, she just shrugged and said, "It's just stuff, Grace. Stop being so uptight. My friends thought your house was so cool." I was speechless. I took her through the house, showing her all the damage. I asked who did this to my grandmother's table and the walls. She rolled her eyes and told me she didn't know because it was dark, and added that I could afford to fix it with my fancy job anyway. When I reminded her she promised no parties, she said she didn't think I'd be such a psycho about it, and that it wasn't a big deal. I told her Charlie had security footage of everything, and she got all defensive, saying I was spying on her, and how creepy it was that my neighbor was watching her. I gave her 24 hours to come up with a plan to pay for the damages. She literally laughed in my face and said, "With what money? You know I'm broke. Maybe if you weren't such a control freak, people would be more careful with your precious things." Then she had the audacity to say I was always jealous of her because she has friends and actually knows how to have fun, while I'm obsessed with material things. I lost it. I told her I was considering legal options at this point. She just stormed out, saying I was overreacting as usual and that it's not like anyone died. I called my friend Jackie, who works as a paralegal, and she said I should absolutely file a police report, especially since I have the security footage as evidence. I did that yesterday, and now I'm waiting to hear what happens next. I tried calling my parents to explain the situation, but they haven't called back yet. I'm honestly dreading that conversation because they always take Tara's side and will probably tell me I'm being too harsh on her. I'm sitting in my half-destroyed house, wondering if I'm wrong for involving the police against my own sister. But I don't know what else to do at this point. She showed zero remorse and clearly has no intention of taking responsibility or paying for anything. Edit. A lot of people are asking about Mr. Whiskers. He's okay, still a bit skittish, but he slept on my pillow last night, which he only does when he's feeling secure. Thanks for the concern about my furry buddy. Edit 2. To clarify about the security footage, my neighbor Charlie has cameras pointing at his own property/driveway, but they happen to also capture my front yard and door. He wasn't specifically spying on my house like Tara claimed. Edit 3. Someone asked about insurance. Yes, I have homeowner's insurance, but I'm worried about making a claim since my rates would go up, plus my deductible is $1,000. And honestly, some things like my grandmother's table can't really be replaced, even if insurance covers it. Now for the first update. So, a lot has happened since my post about 2 months ago. First, thank you all for the supportive comments. I was honestly in such a bad place when I wrote that first post, and reading all your messages made me feel less crazy for filing the police report against Tara. Where to even start? The police investigation turned out way worse than I expected. So apparently, and I had no idea about this, there wasn't just alcohol at these parties. The police found what they said was cocaine residue on my coffee table and some random prescription pills scattered in my guest bathroom. Like, what the actual hell? I don't even take pain meds when I have a headache, and now there were drugs in my house. The cops took like 1,000,000 photos of all the damage and interviewed my neighbors, who confirmed there were multiple nights of parties that were so loud they couldn't sleep. Oh, and I forgot to mention in my last post that we discovered even more damage after I wrote it. There was an overflowed toilet that nobody bothered to clean up. Seriously, who does that? And it had been seeping into my floorboards for days. The wood was starting to warp, and there was this horrible smell that I couldn't figure out at first. I literally had to move in with my friend Curtis for almost 3 weeks because parts of my house were just uninhabitable. I was sleeping on his couch, which was not great for my back, and I had to drive back to my house twice a day to feed Mr. Whiskers and check on the repairs. Insurance only agreed to cover about 40% of the damages because they said some of it was due to intentional acts by a resident rather than accidental damage. Like, are you kidding me? I've been paying these premiums for years, and now when I actually need them, they're basically like, sorry, not our problem. I had to take out a personal loan to cover the rest of the repairs, which feels especially shitty since I had just finished paying off my student loans last year and was so excited to finally be debt-free. There goes that dream. And obviously, I had to put my kitchen remodel plans on hold indefinitely. I had been saving for that for like 2 years. But honestly, the worst part of all of this has been the family fallout. Oh my freaking God. So Tara ended up getting charged with property destruction and allowing drug use on the premises. And my parents, they completely lost their minds. They called me heartless and vindictive for involving the police. My mom was literally sobbing on the phone about how I was destroying Tara's future over some furniture. Some furniture. It was $15,000 plus in damage. And they know how much my grandmother's table meant to me, but apparently that doesn't matter because family handles things privately. I had this one phone call with my parents that I still can't stop thinking about. My dad was furious when I answered. He kept saying it was just property while Tara's life was at stake. My mom got on the phone crying. She always does this to make people feel guilty, saying Tara might go to jail. I tried explaining that jail time was unlikely for a first offense, but she wouldn't listen. She accused me of always trying to one-up Tara, which makes no sense. How is reporting $15,000 in damages one-upping someone? My dad said they raised me to be better than this, which really hurt. I started tearing up, which I hate because I don't want to cry when I'm angry. The worst part was hearing Tara in the background saying I hate her, which isn't true. I just want her to take responsibility. I didn't even realize how many extended family members would get involved in this. My Aunt Jackie actually called to support me, which was nice. She revealed that Tara had borrowed her expensive camera last year and never returned it. Surprise, surprise. But pretty much everyone else has sided with Tara. I've got cousins texting me about how I should forgive and forget because she's your sister. My Uncle Steve, who I've always been close with, literally told me I was being cold-hearted and that we all make mistakes. Oh, and the lies Tara has been spreading. According to my cousin Megan, Tara's been telling everyone that I set her up to get in trouble because I'm jealous of her social life, which is so ridiculous. I can't even, yeah, Tara, I'm super jealous of your non-existent job, your eviction, and your ability to destroy relationships with everyone who tries to help you. #life goals. Side note, Tara did lose her part-time job at this local boutique because she had to keep missing work for court appearances. But somehow, that's my fault too. I actually started going to therapy to deal with all this guilt and family pressure. Shout out to everyone who suggested that in the comments of my last post. I've learned that this pattern with Tara goes back to our childhood. There was this one time in high school when she stole my car and crashed it, and my parents paid for all the damages and begged me not to involve insurance. They said she was just going through a phase and not to ruin her record over a mistake. And I went along with it because I was trying to be the good daughter. I guess I've always put Tara's needs above my own. About 3 weeks ago, my parents arranged this reconciliation dinner at their house that was supposedly to talk things through. I was actually hopeful about it, stupid me, but it turned out to be a complete ambush. I showed up with a bottle of my dad's favorite wine as a peace offering. My parents barely looked at me, and Tara just sat at the table, ignoring me. She looked thinner with dark circles under her eyes, which made me feel guilty even though I know I shouldn't. We sat in uncomfortable silence until dinner was served. Then my dad announced we needed to discuss the situation. Tara immediately started crying. She's always been good at crying on command and said I ruined her life. She complained about not being able to get an apartment or job because of the case. My mom put her arm around her and looked at me like I was the bad guy. My dad told me I should fix everything by dropping the charges. Then they mentioned they found a lawyer, but expected me to pay for it. I asked if anyone even cared about what happened to my house, and Tara snapped that I only care about my precious house and perfect life. I couldn't take it anymore, so I left. Later, my mom texted that I embarrassed the family by walking out. After that disaster, I decided to go low contact with my family. I only respond to texts occasionally, and I've been declining Sunday dinners. My mom keeps sending these guilt-trippy messages like, "We miss you," and family should stick together through hard times, but conveniently forgets that Tara is the one who created these hard times. Tara's been ordered to complete 100 hours of community service and will be on probation, but apparently her record might be expunged if she complies with all the court requirements. The court also ordered her to pay me restitution of around $9,000, but honestly, I'm never going to see that money. She has no job, no savings, and my parents are already complaining about having to support her. She's been living in their basement for the past 6 weeks. The repairs on my house are finally making progress, but I still feel weird being there sometimes. I'll be sitting on my couch watching TV and suddenly think I can hear laughter or music when the house is empty. Sometimes I walk into a room, and even though everything's been fixed, I still see it the way it was when I first came home that day. I keep having these moments where I notice something slightly out of place and panic, thinking someone's been in my house again. Am I being too harsh by maintaining my distance from my family? I feel guilty about Tara's situation sometimes, especially when my mom texts me updates about how depressed she is. But then I remember the way she laughed in my face when I asked her to pay for the damages, and I get angry all over again. Edit. For those asking about Mr. Whiskers, he's back to his normal self now. No lasting trauma from the party situation. He's now sleeping on my newly repaired windowsill. Edit 2. Someone asked if Tara has apologized. Nope, not once. She keeps saying things like, "It wasn't that bad," and "I didn't tell anyone to damage stuff," even though multiple people have confirmed she was encouraging it. Now for the second update. So it's been about 4 months since my last post, and honestly, tons has happened. First, I just want to thank everyone who commented on my previous posts. After my last update, I went into survival mode. I've been keeping minimal contact with my family, only responding to my mom's texts occasionally and completely ignoring my dad's calls. He left this voicemail a couple months ago that was just, ugh. He basically said, "I've always thought I was better than everyone else, and that I was deliberately trying to hurt the family." I listened to it once and deleted it immediately because it just made me so angry I couldn't even function for the rest of the day. The repairs on my house are finally complete, but it ended up costing way more than I initially thought. The contractors couldn't get the stains out of just the damaged sections of the hardwood floors, so they had to refinish the entire first floor. That was an extra $4,000 I definitely didn't have just lying around. So that's cool. And by cool, I mean I'm still paying off that personal loan and probably will be for another year at least. I've basically been working non-stop at my architecture firm to cover all these extra costs. Like, I'm talking 60-plus hour weeks for months. My boss has been understanding about everything and even gave me some higher profile projects to help with the overtime. But honestly, I'm also working so much because being at home still makes me, anxious. I'll walk into a room, and even though everything's fixed, my brain immediately flashes back to how it looked that day. Sometimes I'll notice something slightly out of place and have this moment of panic, thinking someone's been in my house again. Mr. Whiskers has been super clingy lately too, and follows me from room to room meowing if I try to leave him alone. Anyway, about 6 weeks ago, Tara started sending me these manipulative texts about being homeless soon, because apparently our parents were tired of having her around. At first, I just ignored them because I figured it was just another guilt trip, but they kept coming. Here's some actual screenshots. Mom and Dad say I have 2 weeks to find a place, but no one will rent to me because of what you did. I might have to sleep in my car. Hope you're happy now that you've completely ruined my life. If you would just talk to me, we could figure something out. But I guess your house is more important than your sister being homeless. I hate that even after everything she put me through, these messages were starting to get to me. Like, logically, I know I'm not responsible for her situation, but there's this tiny voice in my head saying, but she's family. And what if she really does end up homeless? Then something unexpected happened. About a month ago, I got this email from Sally, who used to be Tara's best friend. I almost deleted it without reading because I figured it was just more drama, but something made me open it. Oh my freaking God, you guys. Sally sent this long apology about her role in the house trashing incident, saying she and Tara had a falling out recently. But that wasn't even the crazy part. She attached a video. The video showed Tara telling her friends to trash the place while I was away. She was saying she wanted to show me what happens when I try to control her, and that I could afford to replace everything with my architect money. I literally felt sick watching it. This wasn't just poor judgment or a party that got out of hand. She planned the whole thing as revenge. For what? For giving her a place to live when she had nowhere else to go. For expecting basic respect for my property. I forwarded the video to my parents with a short note explaining why reconciliation would be impossible unless Tara took full accountability. And for the first time ever, they didn't immediately jump to defend her. My mom actually called me crying, asking if the video was real. My dad just sent a brief text saying they needed time to process this, which, coming from my dad, is basically the equivalent of admitting he was wrong. Then about 3 weeks ago, Tara showed up at my workplace. She caused this whole scene in the reception area, begging to work something out. I was in the middle of a meeting with clients when my assistant came in to tell me my sister was there, causing a disturbance. I was completely mortified, but had to go deal with it before security got involved. I led Tara to an empty conference room, trying to keep my voice calm even though I was fuming inside. As soon as the door closed, she immediately started crying and saying she had nowhere to go. I asked her why she thought coming to my workplace was appropriate instead of just calling me. She admitted she knew I was ignoring her texts and calls. When I mentioned the video from Sally, her whole face changed. She tried claiming the video doesn't show everything and was taken out of context. I just stayed silent and stared at her until she ran out of excuses. The longer I stayed quiet, the more her behavior shifted from defensive to desperate. She started begging me to talk to our parents who were now treating her differently. I finally said, "You need to take responsibility for your actions." And she just exploded, shouting, "It's so easy for you to say that with your perfect life." I couldn't help it. I laughed. I started listing all the stuff she knows nothing about. My boyfriend cheating on me last year, the panic attacks I've been having since finding my house destroyed, how I had to take out a loan I can barely afford, how I'm working myself to exhaustion just to pay for what she did. She looked shocked, like she was seeing me as an actual person with actual problems for the first time. During this whole conversation, I realized something. I'd literally been promoted at work that morning, but hadn't even had time to celebrate because I was dealing with her drama, which pretty much sums up our entire relationship my whole life. My parents called a family meeting the following weekend. I almost didn't go, but I made it super clear beforehand that I wouldn't be manipulated again. This time was different. They had finally established boundaries with Tara, telling her she could only stay with them if she got therapy and found a job. The whole meeting was incredibly uncomfortable, with these long silences and my dad occasionally leaving the room when things got too emotional. But for the first time ever, they weren't automatically taking Tara's side, which honestly felt weird. Good weird, but still weird. Then last week, I was coming home after a particularly long day at work. I noticed someone sitting on my front steps and nearly called the police before realizing it was Tara. She looked different, put together. I approached her, asking what she wanted. She stood up and handed me an envelope without saying anything. Inside was a check for $300 with first payment written in the memo line. I looked up at her, confused, and she explained that she got a job at a local coffee shop. She said it wasn't much, but it was a start toward paying back the damages. I asked why she didn't just mail the check. She took this deep breath and then gave what I think was the first genuine apology I've ever heard from her. No excuses, no but you statements. She acknowledged it would take a long time to earn back my trust. She didn't ask for forgiveness, just for me to know she was trying to change. I could feel tears forming, but I held them back. I just said, "Thank you for the check," and turned to go inside. As I was walking away, she called out that she was sorry for everything. I paused, nodded without turning around, and continued inside. So that's where things stand now. Tara's still completing her court-ordered community service and remains on probation. She's living in our parents' basement, but has been making these small payments from her coffee shop job. Our relationship is still super strained, but civil. There's this understanding now that trust has to be rebuilt slowly, if at all. Family gatherings are still awkward AF, but at least I don't feel pressured to pretend everything is fixed anymore. I never expected this outcome, but I'm hopeful that Tara might finally be growing up. I'm definitely not ready to fully trust her again, and maybe never will be, but for the first time, I see her taking responsibility instead of blaming everyone else. So yeah, that's my final update. Thank you all again for your support throughout this whole mess. Your comments gave me the strength to stand my ground when my family was pressuring me to back down. I don't know what happens next, but at least I feel like I can breathe again. Edit. Someone asked about Mr. Whiskers. He's doing great. He's finally back to sleeping in his favorite sunny spot by the window instead of following me around the house constantly. We're both healing, I guess. Edit 2. To everyone asking if I'm going to let Tara back into my life fully, I honestly don't know yet. The $300 is a nice gesture, but it's literally like 3% of what she owes me. I think I need to see consistent behavior change over a long period before I could ever consider trusting her again.